What's going on, guys? It's Jimmy here. Welcome to our daily show where we discuss everything you need to know about and what's going on in our country on a daily basis, including money, investing, the stock market, the fourth stimulus package update, and stimulus check update. If you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel yet, make sure to click the subscribe button down below. It's completely free to do so. And also, don't forget to hit the like button for us down below. We got a lot to talk about here. The world's richest man, Elon Musk, the founder of Tesla and also the former founder of PayPal, and he has now going to be the owner of Twitter. Yeah, he says that he will reverse former President Donald Trump's Twitter ban. Yeah. Now, he has already made an arrangement to buy Twitter and then make it go private. That's right. So he is in the process of doing this. Now, he has not been a necessarily an ally of former President Donald Trump, but here, yeah, they've had some some quite a few disagreements in the past. But he is a proponent of free speech, and here is what Elon Musk has to say about this. You can let me know your thoughts here in the comments. Here's what he has to say.
A little bit of developing news from the tech world from the man in line to run Twitter, Elon Musk, who's telling the Financial Times that once he takes over the company, once he takes over Twitter and that deal closes, he would take away the permanent ban on former President Donald Trump, saying it was not correct in his view to ban Mr. Trump. He says he thought that was a mistake because in Musk's view, it alienated a large part of the country and did not ultimately result in Donald Trump not having a voice, since, of course, now he's on Truth Social. NBC News technology correspondent Jake Ward is with us now. And, Jake, it is worth noting here, too, that former President Trump himself has said that even if the ban were to be lifted of him on Twitter, he wouldn't come back because he's on Truth Social, which has had, safe to say, some of its own issues in the past, too. But still, this announcement from Musk is one of the big questions that people had when it was announced that he was going to be buying Twitter. Will he or won't he? We now have an answer.
That's absolutely right. We now know that his intention is to bring Donald Trump back on. And as you know, of course, Hallie, Donald Trump was the top user of Twitter. He had the largest audience in the world. And Elon Musk ran in second place. So weird to have the top two most popular users, right, sort of enabling each other here. In this case, we're talking about bringing back the thing that was, for all intents and purposes, Donald Trump's public voice. It was the thing that so many researchers have pointed out and analysts have pointed out was the thing that made his popularity and his political influence possible. What is strange here, of course, is the idea that, the lessons that Twitter and so many social media outlets seem to have learned over the years, which is that you have to moderate content. You cannot simply let everyone say exactly what they want to all of the time. All of that seems to be very much lost on the man who is the presumptive new owner of Twitter.
Now, this will be controversial, of course, especially depending on what side of the aisle you're on. Some people will agree with this, some people will not. Um, I don't even really have a stance on this, to be honest. It really just depends. The thing that really gets me is that if you're gonna take this stance, here's what really gets me. Check this out. If you Vladimir Putin, Russia's president, has a Twitter account. This is what really gets me. If you think that if you're just looking at Twitter, if you're just looking at that they thought that Trump was worth banning, why does Putin have a Twitter account? So you can just Google Twitter Vladimir Putin, and you'll just find his account, President of Russia. And here it is, the President of Russia, their official government organization account with 1.7 million followers, followed by Chuck Schumer. And I mean, the reason he follows them is because, well, they need to keep up with what Russia is saying, right? And I mean, here he is, right here on the very first post. So that's the thing here about about Twitter is that now you look here and you'll see that Twitter is like censoring some of their some of their posts and stuff. And I get that that needs to be done. I totally get it. But the question here is that what how does this work? How does this work? And why does Vladimir Putin have a Twitter account? I mean, this is the problem here, right? This is the problem. So now I think that we all can if you kind of think through this, freedom of speech is something we all want, but there has to be a limit to it. You can't make death threats. You can't. There is a limit to freedom of speech. There just has to be, and big tech, even the government, other governments, they've all kind of have drawn a line in the sand that has to be obeyed. And I know that might sound weird, um, but there just has to be. There just has. I mean, there's that's why you have police, even right. There just has to be a certain line of safety, even, and that's where the whole January 6th incident with the former president comes into play, and that's where people's political views come into play, and that's where the whole Vladimir Putin thing comes into play, where they're literally invading another country and killing people. I digress. So, yeah, so that's the problem here with censorship and how do you, who gets to decide this and why on earth does Putin still have an account? I don't know. But you can let me know your thoughts here. Yeah, it's just how do you referee this? It's just I don't know. I don't know. And then really you kind of think about the same thing. Another major thing that's going on here in the US is the Roe versus Wade situation here. Same type of thing here where we have 9 Supreme Court judges that are going to make a decision here for almost the majority of the country here. Hundreds of millions of women are going to have a decision essentially made for them by 9 people in the Supreme Court, are basically going to almost tell them what to do with this Roe versus Wade decision, which will then fall down to the states, which will essentially make a decision on whether or not abortions will be legal. And this I get that this will fall down to a state decision here, but you can see right here. I mean, there's just so many major headlines here that's saying 26 major states could almost immediately ban abortion if they strike down Roe versus Wade, which has been law for almost about 50 years here. Yeah, if you kind of look at the states here on where it could be banned, um, I believe it would be the orange ones that would be banning it. Those are mostly Republican states here. It's weird how it's Republican versus non-Republican issue. It's weird how it's a political thing. But I mean, if you wanted it to have one, and again, it's weird how you would think that a woman would have a choice here, but not necessarily if the government makes the choice for them. And if you're in one of these orange states here, and you're not even close to a neighboring state, you wouldn't even be able to drive to a neighboring state. And that's where a lot of people are saying that this could be very dangerous for millions and millions of women, because they would have no options at all um, to even have a procedure if they wanted to. And I get here that some people think they should do this, some people think they shouldn't, some people think it's a woman's right, some people think it's not. And I get that everybody has a different opinion, but that's where, everybody's different. I mean, there's 330 million or so people in the United States here. And, who am I to tell anybody what to do? Who is, a United States judge to tell, millions and millions of women what to do with their lives? And that's where this could be a major issue for millions and millions of women, telling them what to do and essentially telling them they have to have a baby in all of these different states per se. That's I mean, this could be a major issue going forward for, I mean, literally millions of women. I mean, just kind of think this through here. We could be going through some radical changes here in the United States. Yeah, and you got to kind of really wonder here. And that's where I get so many people have so many different opinions. And I totally respect everybody having a different opinion. And that's where the real main question here is, should the government be telling you what to do with your life? Especially when it comes to medical procedures. Yeah, yeah, you know, it's a really good question. And, we've had a lot of comments from viewers saying the exact same thing about vaccines. Um, yeah. And when the government is forcing you to do something, that's it's the un-American way. It's almost the something that would happen in China or something that would happen in Russia. It just does not seem like something that should happen in the United States. The government forcing you to do something, the government telling you what to do. I don't know. It just doesn't sit right with me, no matter what it is, whether it's a medical procedure or I mean, you let me know your thoughts here, but I just feel like when the government starts forcing people to do something major, like either any of the something like this, I don't know, and the problem here is that this has been law for like 50 years, and now it's just like, oh well, we got a couple different judges in there now that just want to, they just have a slightly different opinion, so now we're going to change the law. Okay, well, what if we get a different judge in there a year or two or three from now? Are we going to change the law again? And that's where, like, well, is it law or is it opinion? What? It's like, what? It's like, is it a law or is it opinion? It's kind of strange, and that's where, like, when you look at this map, and you're gonna be like, well, wait a minute. We're gonna have Each state is gonna have a different law. It's gonna be legal in some states and not legal in other states. So some women are gonna be able to do it and some women aren't. That really doesn't even sound right. Surely doesn't sound like the United States of America. It doesn't sound united at all. And how does that sound like okay for some women, not okay for other women, based on if their state is Republican run or Democrat run? How does this even sound right? I I don't know. I mean, that's why the whole Republican Democrat thing, that's where I have never fallen along those lines. I look at things from a realistic point of view. And it's just like, you got to imagine saying to a woman, well, yeah, Sally or Susie, yeah, I know, Sally, I know that you would like to choose what's right for your body. But unfortunately, you're in a Republican run state. So unfortunately, the government's going to choose what's right for your body in this case. Like, could you imagine telling, imagine you're a doctor. imagine telling, your patient Susie that. I know, Susie, I know you would like to make the choice for your own body in this case, but sorry, Susie, you were in a Republican-run state, and they've banned it. So unfortunately, the government is going to force you to have this baby. Imagine you were a victim of rape, and we've talked about this in a couple of previous episodes, and unfortunately, I actually seen some women who actually said this had happened to them. And my thoughts and prayers go out to anybody that has dealt with this. I seen some comments, and I actually commented that back to them. To the I don't get to see every comment. We have thousands of comments, but I did see some of those comments, and I replied that back to them. My thoughts and prayers go out to anybody who has dealt with anything along those lines. Um, but yeah, so imagine if you're a doctor and you're like, yeah, Sally, I'm sorry that this happened to you, but unfortunately, our state has banned this. And there could be extenuating circumstances where maybe a state has extenuating circumstances. We don't know this yet because this is in the future, but some states may just ban it outright. We don't know this. There's also other circumstances where, like, dangerous pregnancies, tubal pregnancies, and other things like that. But there's some states that could just ban them outright. And then there's other cases where um, the woman could die. For example, my wife. A lot of people don't kind of realize this with modern day medicine, but like my wife almost died giving birth to my son Julian. When she gave birth, she had preeclampsia, and I mean she made it through. Obviously, you've seen my wife and you've seen our beautiful son Julian, and she actually had a miscarriage before that. But when she, yeah, we've been through some rough stuff. But when she gave birth, her blood pressure was so high. It was over 200 over 150. They had her on magnesium for like 24 hours. She could not get out of bed because of the magnesium they had her on, and she literally couldn't walk. She couldn't get up. She barely even remembers it because this magnesium they had her on was just so wicked. It was so wicked. She was on here recently, and she kind of told the story. If you've seen that, um, but I'm not saying that was just kind of a similar situation where she would have gotten an abortion or anything like that. But I'm just saying that some of these pregnancies are dangerous. Some of these pregnancies are dangerous, and women die giving birth. Sometimes. So a lot of people don't realize that. But there are situations where doctors do have to um, do surgeries like that where in fact they actually had to have our son Julian. They had to induce her, I believe it was 2 or 3 weeks early, because Julian stopped growing in her stomach. He just stopped growing completely, and yeah, they had to induce her early because he completely stopped growing in there, and they said, we got to get him out. Yeah, so a lot of people just don't realize a lot of stuff like this, and she had already had a miscarriage before that. Yeah, so pregnancy can be dangerous. Pregnancy can be dangerous, and there's just yeah, it's just it's a especially if imagine if you were a victim of rape. Just imagine telling a woman, well, you got to go through with it anyways. It's just can you imagine having to do that? Just so many circumstances that's just I just and it's not that I'm for abortion or anything like that. I think it's just even thinking about it. It's just I mean I'm Christian and everything like that. Uh, who even wants to think about that? It's not that I'm that. It's just that I could never tell a woman what to do with her body, and I think that the woman should have the choice. I think that probably any woman really just has to. And my wife feels the same way, and honestly, if she had a completely different situation, if she was the other way around, I'd be like, "All right, great." Um, Because honestly, I totally believe anybody that has their own opinion in this modern day and age really should have that choice. In fact, I've read a lot of really great comments from a lot of people that said, about the baby having a choice, and I totally get that as well. Um, and that's where it's just such a tough decision here, just such a tough decision, and that's where I think when you step back at a higher level, you step back, and that's where, like I said, you could put me on a debate team, and I could argue either side really good. In fact, my mom told me a lot of times that I should have been a lawyer. Not that I would ever want to be a lawyer, because who wants to be a lawyer, right? But I could just argue either point really good. Put me on a debate team, and I'll sit there and I'll have a really good discussion with you about saving that baby's life, because I could sit there and have a really good conversation with you and debate it with you. But I think that the bigger point for me is do I want the government telling my wife what to do? Do I want the government forcing my wife what to do, or your daughter what to do? That's the point that really sticks with me. And the other part going back is that, um, do you want the government not letting a woman have a choice? Because you got to remember that there's so many different women that have different circumstances, medical conditions. We go back to the rape issue, dangerous pregnancies, so many, um, teenage, women getting pregnant at 13 nowadays. I mean, I read another comment from a um, somebody who said that they worked in, it was a hospital or something like that, or you know a, a pregnancy place or something like that, and she said the majority of people that come in there are teenagers, and you just gotta remember, imagine a 13-year-old, 14-year-old girl, can't even really say a woman, coming in there, and they're pregnant at 13, 14, 15 years old, 16 years old. You know, it's just I mean, you see, have you ever seen that show 16 and Pregnant? That show gets millions of views. Millions of people watched it. That show's been going on for years. Oh my god. They have like Teen Mom 2, 16 and Pregnant. They got so many of those shows because millions of people watch them. It's just like, we should have shows that say 16 and successful, teenager and entrepreneur. I know it's hard to probably do that as a teenager because you're in school, but it should be like young and successful, young and entrepreneur, or young and striving. We need to have more shows like that, where it's, people out there trying to become something of themselves. But the problem is that people want to watch these shows that are like hot messes, that, they're train wrecks. They can't believe what's happening. And unfortunately, that's what reality TV has become, so yeah. But yeah, let me know your thoughts here in the comments. But it's just, there's so many people out there getting pregnant at 14, 15, 16 years old. And uh I don't know. I don't know the answer. And that's why I just kind of default back to the answer of let the woman have the choice. Yeah, like I said, it's a tough answer, and I don't even know if there's a right answer. And that's why I think kind of the right answer, at least I think, is to give the woman the choice, because it's her body. She's the one that's going to have the pregnancy and go through a dangerous situation. Like I said, my wife almost died. Women do die having birth, giving birth, and there's just a lot to it. And like I said, if you got a totally different point of view, let me know in the comments. And that's what's great about the United States of America, is that you can have a completely different point of view, and that's what's good. But I think that when the government starts to mandate or force a different point of view on you, and that's where things get, you know, uh, very, very different, especially when it's, a 50-year law. is now changing just because of a judge has a different opinion. And they literally say, you know, whenever you read these rulings, it's a judge's opinion. It's a judge's opinion. That's where the rulings come down. The rulings are like 5-4 because each judge has a different opinion, which then becomes law, which is confusing to people because it's like, well, the law is because of a judge's opinion, and the opinion is now changing. Well, what happens if the opinion changes again in a year or two? Yeah, it's very, very interesting. So let me know your opinion in the comments, and we'll see what happens here. I'll keep you up to date. Remember, new videos come out here every day at 10 a.m., 3 p.m., and 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Make sure to subscribe down below. It's completely free to do so. And after subscribing, click the bell icon next to the subscribe button so you get notifications when we go live. You can click here to watch my newest video next. And you can also click here to see my newest stimulus check video as well. So click on one of those videos next. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.